Look at this heavy drop of ink hitting water. If we freeze it right at the moment of impact, the darkness looks permanent. This mirrors how we experience human loss. At the onset, we feel certain that the void will never close and the sorrow will never end. That projected weight dictates our behavior. It can trap us in failing relationships or leave us unable to function when facing the inevitable end of a loved one's life. This experience is documented in the Mahabharata, an ancient philosophical text featuring a dialogue between the warrior Arjuna and his guide, Lord Krishna. Arjuna stands on the edge of a battlefield, paralyzed. He is terrified of the coming deaths and the permanent severing of his family bonds. To him, the future is nothing but a landscape of grief. Krishna meets this dread with a detached perspective. He suggests that Arjuna's panic stems from a misunderstanding of how emotions actually function over time. We tend to visualize our mourning as a solid, unbroken line, extending forever, but Krishna suggests this is a perceptual error. In reality, that timeline eventually fragments into disconnected pieces. Our anxiety about mortality is driven by the assumption that the emotional aftermath of loss is eternal. If that assumption is wrong, our entire relationship with death changes. Consider this ancient monolith. The names at the bottom have eroded into dust. Krishna applies the same logic of decay to human history, asking us to look back at the scenario of our own previous lives. In that past existence, you were also part of a family. When you died then, you left behind relatives, a spouse and children who wept intensely for your loss. Their mourning was not trivial. It was just as visceral and agonizing as the grief we see in the world today. At the time, they likely believed they would never recover. However, in your present life, you have no memory of who those people were or the tears they shed for you. The sorrow they felt, which seemed like the most important thing in the world, now holds zero value for you. It has been entirely erased from your emotional ledger. The passage of time bankrupts the value of grief. What feels overwhelming in one era becomes meaningless in the next, because the mind cannot maintain the weight of the past forever. This dissonance is Maya. Here, the glowing present self is warped by distorted rings. Maya acts as a psychological projector, magnifying temporary pain into a permanent shadow across your future. Our ego uses this to convince us our irreplaceable presence leaves a permanent scar. Krishna challenges this by pointing to the law of human resilience. Within a short time frame, the people currently mourning will be laughing and playing again. This is not a lack of love. It is the mind's natural design. Maya blinds us to our own ability to heal. We suffer because we underestimate how quickly the gravity of life pulls us back toward the present. If human psychology is designed to erase sorrow, then clinging to pain is a fight against our own nature. Watch the momentum of life returning to this frozen landscape. Moving on is not a betrayal of the dead. It is an acceptance of the way we are built. The logic of the Mahabharata suggests we should stop agonizing over broken ties or mourning our own deaths in advance. Suffering has an expiration date, whether we want it to or not. Accepting this leads to a sense of peace. You are no longer obligated to maintain a permanent state of sadness to prove that a relationship mattered. The decay of grief is not a tragedy. It is simply the process that allows life to continue.